This is the Art Beauty Podcast, where we are always reaching for truth and beauty. Remember, the brands on the show aren't paying to be here, so we get to ask them candid questions because you deserve to be informed so you can make the best choices for yourself. Today, I am here. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Amber, of course. And today I am here with Ulrich Dempfle. He is the founder of Carol Bike. Now, for all my fitness enthusiasts and maybe fitness wannabe enthusiasts, this episode is for you because he is here to tell us that we can get scientifically proven results with workouts in as little as 5 minutes. Mind blown. Welcome to the show, Ulrich. It is great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I have to be honest, today couldn't have been a better day for this recording because I woke up, I had a terrible night's sleep last night. I woke up groggy. Fans who've been listening to this, and please excuse me, I am a huge fan of Peloton. Not the bike though, because my bike that I got during COVID is really like nothing more than a clothes hanger now, but I do the weight workouts. So I'm a big weightlifter. And I'm in this program right now, but it required 10 minutes of warm up, a 45-minute class, 10-minute stretch. And I just didn't have the time. I was like, I don't have the time. And so this couldn't be more perfect because if I had an option to do something in, as little as 5 minutes, well, there's nothing said there. Before we get into this groundbreaking and very interesting science, I was wondering if you could start a little bit, because you have a very interesting background, right? You didn't start necessarily in fitness. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So no, I'm in some way a stranger in the fitness industry. I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm from Germany. I worked for a lot of car makers, and then worked for many years in healthcare as a consultant. And we set up and designed and ran chronic disease management programs and preventive care programs for people with conditions like diabetes, heart disease. And for that patient population, exercise is really the most powerful intervention. And for everybody else, in fact, too. The only problem for us was just we couldn't get people to work out. We couldn't get people to exercise. And if you look at, there's some statistics that are really quite scary, that less than 5% of Americans actually meet government guidelines when it comes to aerobic exercise. So there's a huge gap in terms of what the consensus is, how good and how powerful exercise is, and how much we all do about it. And that's kind of how what we've set out to bridge and to close that gap. And that led us to develop Carol Bike.
Okay. We're going to get into this bike. But can I just, before we go there, and I don't want to derail this too much, but how do you go from making cars to healthcare?
That's a geographic choice. So
okay.
My partner, girlfriend, now wife at the time, was in London. I was in Germany, and there's lots of car makers in Germany, but there's not many car makers in the UK, in London, but there's many hospitals, and hospitals are in a way also a production system. And so that's how I got into healthcare. And then we tried to make operations and the emergency room more efficient. And then if you think about that, really the holy grail is prevention and stopping people from getting ill in the first place. And one led to the other, and now I'm here. But life is a winding river, and it flows in many surprising and unexpected ways. So that's how it happened.
I love that though, because you followed your heart, and now you're helping to save all of ours, right? You're protecting our hearts by following your own. That is a wonderful story.
But if I think back what I wanted to do when I was like 15, 16 or so, it was actually developing something, a technical product that I can sit on. And in a car, you develop a tiny bit of it. But with Carol Bike, I'm really involved in every aspect of it, the hardware, the software, the AI, and it's wonderful. So in some ways, I've arrived at what I feel is my destination.
Amazing. We love to hear stories like that. It's so inspiring. And I love to sort of this reminder that, you know what, life can take many different paths. So, you know, and I always tell people, don't even worry. When I was in college, they didn't even have the jobs that exist today, didn't even exist. There was no social media. There was no, I mean, things like that. There, you know, there were no podcasts. So just trust your gut, follow that the universe sometimes will lead you in the right way, and know that everything that you've done in the past might somehow give you the skills to do your next job even better. Okay. So now for all my fitness enthusiasts out there who are probably like me, kind of a little bit skeptical, how is it possible that we can have scientific proven results, that we can change our bodies in just 5 minutes? And I believe your programs start with, I think it's like 2 20-second sprints. Is that correct? Can you, yeah, I mean,
That's correct.
that seems,
That's
so
correct.
like 40 seconds of hard workouts, I'm going to make a game-changing health improvements.
But you can get, and that is the special thing. So on the Carol bike, you can actually do a wide variety of different workouts. It's a very versatile bike. It's compatible with many third-party apps. So you can do a lot of it, but what we are famous for and what we're really specializing in and what we've ruthlessly optimized the bike for is a workout called REHIIT. It's reduced exertion, high intensity interval training. And many people will be familiar with HIIT and high intensity interval training. And REHIIT is really the next level of HIIT, and it's taken it to a fully optimized level. And I can very happily talk once through kind of how a typical workout looks like, so people understand it.
Yeah,
so
I would love that. Yes, absolutely. I mean, because how does REHIIT differ from your traditional HIIT?
Yeah, so HIIT is very clearly very effective. Everybody understands that. But it's not all that short. So a typical HIIT session, you do 4, 5, 6, 10 intervals. They can be a minute up to 4 minutes, a total session, 20, 30, 40 minutes. So it's not that time efficient. And the rate of perceived exertion is fairly high. So many people find HIIT actually very difficult to do. And then what researchers did, and we're clearly standing on the shoulders of giants. So we've developed a product on existing very solid academic research. They searched for the minimum effective dose of interval training. So basically, what's the minimum you can get away with to get the benefits? And so titrated that back, and cut it further, and tested what is the minimum dose I need to get the desired result. And they've arrived at 2 20-second sprints. And so if you get on the bike, it's a short warm-up. So it's up to 2 minutes, but you can do it as little as also just 20 seconds. So the warm-up doesn't really do anything. It's very casual. Then you have a first sprint that's just 20 seconds long, but you go all out. So it's maximum intensity. You have a short recovery, second sprint, again, all out, and a 3-minute cool down. So that means you can fit that into a 5-minute workout. Most people would take 6, 7, maybe 8 minutes, not longer than 8 minutes, 40 seconds. And it's been proven to deliver the same fitness and health benefits as a 45-minute run. So it's incredibly time efficient and effective form of exercise.
And now, you know, I just want to reiterate. So when because we are a results-driven society, you know, so what kind of results, what do the results look like? How long would we have to be doing, and I'm not just talking about Carol Bike, but sort of a REHIIT program in order to see results?
Yeah. So first, the results are not subtle. Those are very noticeable results. And what we see in our users and what's been demonstrated in plenty of academic studies is that you achieve about a 12% improvement in VO2 max. That's your cardiorespiratory fitness, your ability to burn oxygen in only 8 weeks. So that's 12% in 8 weeks. And then the other major benefit is metabolic health benefits. So your risk of developing metabolic diseases like type 2 diabetes in the same period drops by about 62%. So those are very, very substantial improvements that can be achieved in a really quite short period of time. So you do this type of workout 3 times a week over 8 weeks, and you can expect to see a quite very substantial improvement.
15 minutes total
Per
a
week.
week.
Yes.
I mean,
that's right.
One of the things that I'm thinking too, right? So let's just get away from people who are obviously like really fitness buffs and enthusiasts. I have to imagine that this would be very good for people who are starting an exercise routine, who maybe are a little overweight, maybe even a little bit older, right? Because you're not having to do these extended bouts of hard workout. Is that are you finding that to be true?
Yes, so that's absolutely true. We have a really wide range of users. We do have athletes, and we do have like ex-Olympic gold medalists, or I don't think you call them ex, just Olympic gold medalists. But if you look at the bulk of our users, yes, they are not your teens and twins. So most people who purchase a Carol bike are maybe 35, 40. And then up to 60, 65. But the range of users is really from 10 years to 80 years, and from very, very fit to, just not very fit and just starting to get into that. And we can cater for such a large range of different users, because every workout is really personalized to you. So the algorithms and the AI in our bike dial in the resistance for those sprints so that they're optimal for you, for your age, for your fitness level. And then as you use the bike, it adjusts based on your performance. And so as you get fitter and stronger, it gets harder, and it keeps you challenged. Or other way around, if you had an injury or you were traveling or so and didn't have the chance to exercise, it would also ease off and make it easier. So every workout is personalized so that I can do it, and I do it a lot. And my 80-year-old mother who has mobility issues is also able to do it, and does it every other day, like quite religiously, every 3 times a week. And it's something she can do to maintain her cardiorespiratory fitness.
I'm loving this. You mentioned a little bit of the AI, and I think that so many people might be familiar with a traditional sort of exercise bike. Maybe you have it in the gym, Peloton, we know that. But how do, you mentioned that the AI, so the AI is built into this bike to tailor your own workouts. How does it do that? Can you enter in things through the bike? Can you enter in if I've been on vacation or maybe I'm injured?
Yeah, sure. So first, the workout is so effective because you go for a very short period of time to maximum intensity levels. And it's not so easy to actually achieve that. And on a regular bike, it would be very difficult. And in fact, we tried to, because first we loved the science. We didn't have the plan to develop a bike, and we just tried to do it on a regular bike, but we found it too difficult to get right. So the bike has no knobs or buttons in the sense where you control the resistance. This is all computer controlled. Okay. And as you sign up, you just tell us some basic things about you, your age, your gender, your weight, your height, and your activity levels. And we take a very informed estimate as to what the right settings are for the workout for you. You do the workout, you don't have to do anything. So the machine guides you through the workout. It automatically adjusts the resistance and applies the optimal resistance at the optimal time instantly, so that you really only have to focus on giving your all. And that's a big ask in itself. So you have to push really hard, but everything else is taken care of. And then as you work out more, apologies, my sound has. Yes, apologies.
That's okay. You've got to Pay attention to family first. Listen, we got it.
Yes. As you work out, we analyze how you perform during those sprints, because we really want you to hit your peak.
Okay.
And because we've got by far the largest database in the world of REHIIT workouts, so none of our academic partners has close to as much data as we have, because we've got a community of now around 25,000 users. We've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of rides, which basically gives us the training data to train our algorithms. And so we know what an optimal workout looks like for exactly somebody like you. And you basically achieve your peak power, and you can only hold that for a fraction of a second. And then you fatigue, and there's a certain rate of fatigue that is just indicative of an optimal workout. And so that's what the AI and what the algorithms do, that they tailor each workout to you and keep you challenged or ease off if it's too challenging.
So let's talk about sort of the experience on this bike. So you get on the bike. I've seen pictures of it. I've never tried it. So for everybody who is listening, I don't want to pretend like I've tried this or I'm a user. It does have a screen.
Yeah.
Do you choose from classes? Are there coaches who are kind of guiding you along? Are you looking at pictures going through, the beautiful German countryside or Bavaria? What are we seeing?
So you can do a lot of different things, but in our core workouts, you basically have a lot of dials and stats and Carol, the machine. So Carol stems from cardiovascular optimization logic, the kind of our little, and that's our little AI coach. Coaches you through the workout. So both by voice and kind of written language on the screen. If you want, there's a soundtrack that teleports you into a paleo landscape, and it's first all quite relaxed and all nice, and then for the sprints you're suddenly like chased by a tiger, and you basically recreate this dramatic effect to motivate you. Now you can also just listen to music, or you don't have to listen to anything at all. Like there's choice, so you don't have to. But this is quite neat actually, and that's one thing our users really love is how Carol transports them, teleports them to this paleo landscape, and then a tiger comes and you have to run for your life, because that's really why the workout works. So the effectiveness of the workout is because we momentarily simulate an emergency situation and put you, figuratively into a situation where you have to run for your life. And your whole body notices that. Your energy demand skyrockets. You have to use different types of fuel. You can't use your normal aerobic energy system. But you're forcing your body to use your anaerobic energy system, and you mobilize an awful lot what's called muscular glycogen. That's your emergency reserve. And with that mobilization of muscular glycogen, with the mobilization of your emergency reserve, you trigger an adaptation. You trigger the release of certain signaling molecules that tell your body, hang on, I have to get fitter and stronger. Right. And because the trigger is just the mobilization of these glycogen, of the stored glycogen. And that's really achieved. We don't use all of it, but the mobilization happens in the first 20 seconds of these sprints. And that also means that 20 seconds is enough. And it's almost like flipping a switch. So once you've achieved that, there's no need to do more sprints or longer sprints, because you've released the relevant signaling molecules already. And that's why we can achieve with very, very little time at maximum intensity, quite remarkable health and fitness benefits.
I mean, I feel like we are so familiar now with hearing this term biohacking, right? And
Mhm.
so we're biohacking everything these days, right? The more information and the more science that we have behind this, we're finding
Mhm.
ways to biohack. I feel like everything, but this seems like a clear biohack to fitness
Yeah.
optimization. you know um Before we kind of talk about sort of the details of the bike, in terms of like the pricing and the membership, I do want to throw something out there to you, because we are first and foremost a beauty podcast, and I've had a lot of
Mhm. Sure.
experts on here who have found, who have stated that extended cardio, aerobic exercise is actually detrimental to our skin because it breaks down collagen. So I'm wondering if, that could be another
Mhm.
big selling point for you, because in 5 minutes, you're not really overexerting and you're not starting to have that collagen breakdown.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, not like deeply founded and very, very strong beliefs, but it certainly is the true that. So I don't want to, like, exercise is good. So I don't want to
Yeah.
poo-poo any sort of exercise, and I don't want to put off anybody from going for an hour-long run. If they enjoy it, good for you, do it. But long steady state cardio does also have some downsides in terms of like cortisol production. Some people argue that long cardio might not be good for maintaining muscle mass.
Right.
And certainly you won't have any of those side effects with these reduced exertion, high intensity interval sprints, because the amount of exertion, even though you go all out for 2 times 20 seconds, and that's, so I want to be honest, that is intense. And it's not quite a free lunch. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
do have
Yeah. You have
like
to, you
it.
have to work to your maximum.
Yeah, exactly. You just
Yeah.
compress it into a really short period of time. And it's basically, as soon as the pain kicks in, you're also done. So
Yeah.
it's psychologically quite it's.
Achievable.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to say easy, but it's doable. Yeah,
It's
because you
achievable.
kick
Yeah.
through, exactly, and then like only the last 5 seconds. But overall, the rate of exertion is very low, and that means some of those maybe not so positive effects of long hard cardio are just not present, and can be avoided. Yes.
And I'm glad that you put that, because, obviously at the end of the day, we want you to get out and work out. And if your thing is
Mm.
going for an hour-long run, absolutely do it. But I do want to point out to people, who like myself grew up thinking, oh my gosh, if I'm not working out for an hour, I'm not getting results. That there are other ways to do this, and that you don't have to
Mm.
have these long, extended
Yeah.
cardiovascular sessions in order to reap serious, significant,
Mm.
scientifically proven, clinically proven results.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so how long has Carol Bike been out for now?
So we launched late 2018, early 2019. So it was 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And
Wow. I
before
mean,
that, we've worked for kind of 5, 6 years to just get going.
I
And
feel like
first,
though you launched probably at the perfect time for you, right? Right before everything shut down and people were like, I need this.
yes, yes,
Yes and
yes.
no.
I mean, to be honest, I would have preferred not to have a pandemic. And
I mean, yeah.
the timing was not perfect for us. Of course, there was initially kind of a surge in demand, but then it also caused so many operational issues
Oh yeah.
that I think we would have preferred just like steady organic growth rather than the whole world being up in. Yes.
I mean, I think everybody, you'd be hard pressed to
Mhm.
find anybody who was like, this was great. But
Yeah.
but but
No,
but
but
you,
even the winners, or perceived winners, like Peloton, um, because of the surge in demand and then all the upset and some questionable decisions that were made based on an assumption that nobody will ever go to the gym again,
yeah.
just created lots of havoc afterwards, and like lots of hangover and headache. And we had some of that as well.
I like I said, so I bought a Peloton during during
Mhm.
COVID, used it, loved it. And I used to go to the gym and cycle. I'm not an avid cyclist, but I liked it as a workout. Have not yet been back to the gym because I find that the Peloton, for me, the weightlifting, I bought a set of weights,
Mm.
and that is what works best for me. And if I'm going for a run, I like to go outside. But when winter hits, I'm in New York City. So when winter hits, that's when our bike gets a lot of use. But during the
Yeah,
summer, I like to get outside, or
sure.
I love weightlifting.
Mm.
That said, a 5-minute workout I could be compelled to do. But so you're telling me now though that really you can't mimic this on any bike. It really needs to be, or if, let's say, for runners, are you
Mm.
thinking that, are there programs out there that would mimic this sort of REHIIT and give you benefits, maybe not as
Yeah,
trackable, but through something like
yeah, yeah,
running or
sure,
weightlifting or
sure. So first, maybe a little bit more anecdote. We heard about the science of REHIIT from a BBC documentary where the science was showcased, and we were really fascinated. And the very next day, I went out to buy a regular exercise bike, and I've paid close attention and bought what I thought was most suitable. But I achieved nothing like the feeling, the sensation, the experience that they had portrayed in the BBC show. And instead of just giving up, we actually called the scientists who were showcased there and said, like, "What's up, guys? Why can't we? You had such a wonderful spiel, but we can't do it." And the very first thing they said to us was, "Well, you need a special bike." It's like, oh man, you could have mentioned that on the program.
yeah.
So in the labs where they did the academic research, they had exercise bikes, like special equipment that's operated by a second person. So and the second person was there to basically control the resistance and apply the optimal resistance at the optimal time instantly. And that's really the secret to get to maximum intensity. And we thought, like, maybe one can actually make that. There must be a better solution to this. And so we built a machine around it and automated it with computer control.
Right.
Now, I suggest that most people would find it difficult to actually find the optimal resistance.
Right.
To reach your maximum intensity, you basically have to accelerate to really high cadence, high pedal speed at low resistance. And then in a fraction of a second, dial in the optimal resistance instantly. And that's just like, the coordination is very, very difficult. And people wouldn't know what resistance is right. And so it would be just a bit random. Now, do you get benefits from it? Maybe. Yeah, it's possible. And there might be other things that are not so bad. So for example, people might have access to air bikes in their gym. So the CrossFit people, they like to use air bikes. They're probably a reasonable alternative.
Okay.
But those are bikes with essentially one gear, and they might be perfect for a 30-year-old CrossFit athlete. They certainly would not be appropriate for my 80-year-old mother. And we can, so our bike has 1,000 gears, and we can switch instantly and therefore personalize and optimize the workout so that it's just right for her, which an air bike just wouldn't do it. So we've really optimized for this and think we've put a very nice and very good product together. But yes, there might be other options, like an air bike, or if you're really good with your regular bike, you can try it, see what you think. I think just sprinting, so literally going in the whatever on your racetrack or in the park, casual jog, and then but really all out maximum intensity sprints. I think could and will be probably quite beneficial. There is something about though not everybody, so it's quite hard on the joints. There's a trip hazard, and it's really just quite awkward. Like you don't see people.
Yeah, no. I was just thinking about me running in Central Park, like my nice jog, and then just kind of taking off like a tiger's chasing you. I think people would be startled.
Exactly. Especially if you're not yet kind of in peak shape and cover magazine, like magazine cover type body shape, then it's just like, that's not how people, like, I think even in a gym, many people would feel awkward to go really all out.
Like on your like on a different model of bike, you listen, and I get it, and I do appreciate you being honest a little bit about the science and also the experience that you have created, sort of this incredibly scientific high-tech device that is optimized, that has been peer reviewed, clinically proven to deliver these results. So I think that comes through, but I was just kind of curious as to that 26. And listen, I know from being on my Peloton where they're like, turn up the resistance, and I'm like, and it's like, okay, my idea of what max resistance and a computer's, they're probably going to be a little bit different. So I totally get that.
We have, because, so in fact, should I admit that my wife uses on our Carol bike the Peloton app quite a lot, because that's what makes her, that's what she enjoys. She likes the instructors and the music, and she actually really enjoys being 45 minutes or so on a with a Peloton program, and they do a great job. And yes, you can use it, or you can use it with Swift or KinoMap. There's like cycling apps. You can even cycle through the Bavarian landscape, in fact. But
I've been to Bavaria. It's beautiful. You bring up a good point, though. So, because listen, if there are people out there right now, and I think if I was listening to this and trying to decide between which model of bike to buy, you did bring up a really good point that, because like I said, I don't get on my Peloton bike anymore, but I use the app all the time. But you could theoretically use the app.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then this bike. So, if you want but you get the added benefit of having this 5-minute AI powered intense REHIIT workout, which you can't get on Peloton.
So we have in our own Carol bike app, we have at the moment 20 scientifically proven workout protocols, with the REHIIT protocol being really, that's why people buy us. But you can use it just like any other exercise bike. You can use it with the Peloton digital app, and you can use it with a range of cycling apps, because we've made ourselves compatible to pretty much the widest range of cycling apps. So this is really a subculture, but Swift and KinoMap and Ruvi, for people who have a carbon road bike and put their Lycra shorts on every weekend, they know what this is about. And so we're also compatible with all of that. So we're kind of a T-shaped, with our big specialization on REHIIT, but then we're really very versatile and try to offer something for everyone, because the truth is just people don't have two bikes at home. So if there's a household and a family, and whatever one party is really into structured workouts, scientifically validated protocols, but the other ones like group sessions, then we have to offer that both. Very few people have 2 or 3 bikes at home.
I'm like so mad I don't have this bike now. I got to be honest, because, too, I think that my husband, who works, 12, 13-hour days, could get on for a 5-minute session, and I will say, that one of the things that I was reading when I was looking at the reviews, that one of the people was like, this is so great because I don't even break a hard sweat. So I'm getting this super intense workout, but I'm not like, it's something that I could do. If you're a work from home, I could do this, then get back on a Zoom and not have everybody know. Like, you get on a Peloton, you look like I'm a mess. It's a mess.
So that is, in fact, so we don't overemphasize that, because it's not true for 100% of people. Yeah. So no, but like 80% of people. So there are people who sweat, who are prone to sweat a lot, and they will sweat. But the majority in those REHIIT workouts actually don't sweat, because you don't burn enough calories and you don't burn enough energy in those short sprints. And you sweat because your body temperature is elevated, and then you try to cool down. So if you don't burn so much energy, and your body temperature doesn't get hot, you don't sweat. And so I've been told, and for me it's less of a concern, but for example, with hair and kind of having to get a
wash
blow
your
dry
hair and blow out.
Exactly.
Yes, you know it.
Yeah. So that many of our female users and customers appreciate that they can get like a meaningful, really very, very effective workout in without needing a blow dry afterwards. So yes.
Listen, you're laughing, but I'm telling you, every woman who's listening to this right now is like, oh, and even some of my men with longer hair, or like those great styles. Ulrich, this sounds, so incredible. If people want to know more about the Carol bike, because the bike starts, first of all, it's available US. Is it available worldwide?
Largely. So we originate from the UK, but really we're like, our market is the US. Like 90% of our bikes are sold in the US. I don't know exactly why, but it seems to be that's what it is. We sell about 90% of our bikes in the US and in Canada, actually. But if we do ship to most countries in the world.
And I'm just saying that because I know we have a lot of international listeners. So ballpark on price on the bike?
Yeah, sure. So it's $2,595. It's free shipping. One thing I shall say, we don't have terribly many showrooms, so you can find us in high-end studios, in biohacking facilities, but we don't have dedicated showrooms. What we instead offer is a 100-day home trial. So that is, I think, an industry-leading offer. In recognition that we don't have the showrooms, you purchase the bike, and if for any reason you don't like it, if it's just not for you, or you say like, oh, sorry, I just don't use it, we will pick it up again for full refund. That's our promise to our customers, and that works very well for us. Maybe one day we'll be big so that we also have a showroom on every high street, but in the meantime, you can get the bike, and if you don't like it, you just give it back. We collect it.
Amazing. But I guess you're seeing that a lot of people are sticking with it because, listen, 5 minutes is
something
that we can all commit to,
That's right. And 100 days is also really enough time for you to not only see, can I do it, but does it benefit me? So in 100 days, so most of the scientific studies are done in 6 to 8 weeks. Some go up to 12, 16 weeks, but that's all within that range, 100-day range. So plenty of time to see whether you feel the difference. And so 12% improvement in VO2 max is really not little. To put that into context, so as we age, we lose about 10% of VO2 max per decade. So 12% improvement is basically dialing back your fitness levels by 12 years. That's very noticeable for most people. And so you will be able to tell whether it's good for you or not.
That's amazing. If people want to purchase this bike, if they want to learn more about it, because you have some great information, where should they go?
So our website is the first place to go to. It's carolbike.com.
CAROL, no E. My last name, my middle name is Carol with an E, but it's CAROL bike.com.
Correct. You can follow us on our socials. There we're always at the Carol Bike on all platforms. And if you want to know more, another thing we offer is fitness consultations. So you can make an appointment with a member of our team. So our fitness advisors have MSCs in exercise physiology. So they're really competent and can answer your questions, have a discussion with you whether it's right for you, and then you could decide whether it's something you'd like to try or not.
Amazing. I want to thank you, Ulrich. Like I said, go check out that site. There's wonderful information. You brought up some great points too. I say to anybody, no matter what workout, 3 weeks from now, if you do anything, you're going to notice a change. So when you're approaching a new workout, sometimes it can be like, oh my gosh, I got to do this for a year. This is going to be a life change. No. Set yourself a goal of 3 weeks, because in 3 weeks you are going to look different. You're going to feel different. And trust me, you're probably going to continue doing that. Thank you so much for being on here with me today. I really appreciate that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was a pleasure.
It is such a pleasure. And if you have questions you want me to pass on to Ulrich and his team, you can always do so. You can email me at hello@artbeautypodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Art Beauty Podcast. And as always, we will see you next Tuesday, maybe even being a little bit fitter on your way to better health. Bye.
Wonderful.